to our amazing presenting sponsors. You see their logos here on the screen. I want to say, huge congratulations for your involvement in this. Congratulations for helping us get the broadband and the streaming and everything. We couldn't do it without you, our amazing presenting sponsors. And again, thank you so much for elevating this conversation around the globe. As always, good morning to Julia Patrick. So Julia is the CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. So check out the website right there in front of you. And then I am Jarrett Ransom, your nonprofit nerd, CEO of the Raven Group, and thrilled to be back here today on a Tuesday that feels like a Monday to welcome Jason Champion. Jason is the Director of Product Development with Winspire. So welcome, Jason, and happy Tuesday to you today.
Hi, good to see everyone. Thanks for letting me be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, we're thrilled, especially as dapper as you look, given that we're still, trying to get out of the summer.
Hey, it's seersucker, so I'm cool in a way, and a short sleeve shirt under it. I'll never take my jacket off though.
I love it.
I love it. I love it. Hey, let's start off with, what does Winspire do for nonprofits? I mean, we're kind of like backing up a little bit, but share with us what it is that you all do.
Yeah, so Winspire is the largest provider of unique travel and virtual experiences to nonprofits to use in their fundraising. So when you've gone to a black tie event and there's potentially an auctioneer or an MC on stage and they're talking about a villa in Tuscany for 10 people where we all want to go at the moment, that traditionally probably comes from us. We have 200 different packages with global suppliers, from hiking Kilimanjaro to wine tasting in Napa to Broadway in New York when it comes back. So we work with, on average, about 17,000 nonprofits in a year, and we've raised close to $70 million in additional funds to help move our missions forward.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. The perks of the job are quite nice that I get to travel, so I don't mind that. It's been weird staying at home for the last 6 months though. So
I bet. So because of that, and because of where we are, talk to us about the main changes in this virtual fundraising, because for all of us in our sector, we're used to the galas, we're used to the luncheons where we do see that kind of bidding up of these events and everybody gets really excited. If we've eliminated that and we've moved into the virtual environment, what's happening?
Well, I'm super excited about the virtual world because, Julia, you and I were talking earlier, and I've created the hashtag Beyond the Ballroom because now your organization can be on a global platform and fight with the big boys like a Make-A-Wish or Habitat that are running national commercials. I think this is the time where organizations need to rejolt themselves, think through what they're doing to move forward. Is that big gala worth it anymore? Should they be doing smaller quarterly events? Should they do monthly, smaller, even donor engagement events? But moving into the virtual world, it's all about every second counts, because there's a reason Subaru, Apple, all these guys pay millions of dollars for a 30-second television spot, because they've got to translate that quickly for you to buy that new Toyota, Jarrett. And then if they don't, you're missing the mark. So nonprofits should think in that same form of, you're creating a beautiful experience that's engaging and every moment is impactful.
Those ads work. I'm definitely going to say that. And I'm serving as an interim CEO for an organization, and it's a remote position. But what I asked them was this intended to be remote, or was this due to the pandemic? But the point of this is they have, program outreach, not only here in the state of Arizona, but also in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And so we're really looking forward to this virtual gala because it does provide that expansion of reach, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, you would have the gala in a ballroom. Maybe you would have to recreate it in the other state or the other geographic location. But like you said, hashtag Beyond the Ballroom, right? Like, this is such a great opportunity. And It's definitely come up several times about, the auction items and what are we going to do, and how do we provide travel, luxury travel accommodation. So this is perfect timing.
Yeah, it definitely is perfect timing. People have been pent up for a while at this point, and I will say, as hard of a fall as we took through travel and nonprofits, the rise is going to be even better because people have waited to book their trips. They're starting to call us again. We're starting to book trips into 2021, even into 2022, because we relaxed our booking policies. So, I think this next year is going to be a big year for travel, especially when it comes to the outdoors and gathering with families. Like the new thing now is going to be multi-generational travel, where it could be a private home, maybe 5 bedrooms, grandma, grandpa can come, parents and the kids, so they can spend time together, because those type of experiences are truly priceless.
Oh, I love that. And sadly, I hadn't even thought of that. Sorry, mom and dad, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
no,
really
that's great. And I know like we're all hungry for that interaction. And one of the things I have heard during this pandemic, and we will ask you the same thing, so be ready, is, what has been the silver lining, or what have been some things that have come out of it? And I think you're right. It really is that multi-generational connection, and how might we be able to engage them. And I love that you did say multi-generational, because when I work with organizations, one of my biggest questions, and it's one that I ask pretty quickly, is how do you engage philanthropy for the younger children of our world, right? I shared earlier, I have a 10-year-old son. So when possible, I like to really encourage him to be a part of this. And it's hard to take him to a ballroom where it's really 25 and up, or it's just not conducive to that full-on family unit. So I love to hear you, include that in the packages that Winspire offers.
Yeah, definitely. And while mom and dad may have been the one that purchased it at the event itself, they were thinking forward for family travel and things like that. Like we've even got a package that we released last week that is a 7-person RV.
Oh,
So
that's great.
fun. And there's 137 different locations that you can pick it up around the country. And you've got X unlimited miles for 5 days. And it's just
Oh my
hit the
gosh.
road. Like I wanted to call it the Cousin Eddie package, but everybody was like, no, we probably shouldn't do that. Let's go with a Discover Your Adventure. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, I like the Cousin Eddie one.
That's hilarious. I love it. So let's talk about another big issue in the virtual space, and that is timing. Before we would have been like at a 3.5 hour event, complete with the after party, the cocktail pre-party, all of VIP stuff. Talk to me what you're seeing now in terms of truncating that, or actually rethinking what an appropriate time would be.
Yeah, definitely. Well, at Winspire, we're currently producing about 25 virtual events that are coming up in the next couple of months through our studio in Boise. And, we have found a good formula that a show should be no more than 55 to an hour long.
Okay.
Because that gives you the right amount of time from a live MC, 2 forms of type of entertainment, your mission moment, potentially a live auction, and then wrap it up. What you want is people to be on the edge of their seat. You don't want them to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to be here for another 2 hours. And they're already dreading that, because we are a 1, 2, 3 click society, and we're off to doing something completely different. Other things that are working really well is events during the week. It's not a traditional Saturday gala anymore, because think about this. We as a culture have all of a sudden thrust into Zoom, this new frontier. Everybody is at their desk. They're working hard all week. They don't want to have to tune back in on Saturday. Like, unless they're getting dressed up to go and enjoy, and that's an event. Now it's like, okay, Thursday evening, I'm still at home. I can still hang out in my pajamas if you're like myself and you're drinking coffee at 4 p.m. to get through the rest of the day. You can watch at home that night, and it's enjoyable. And then Friday, we're reclaiming our weekends. It's a long time since this has been happening because of the workforce has moved so fast that now I think we're spending time with our families on the weekends, and tuning back in to watching a show again may be a little difficult. So moving during the week is a good time frame, and 1 hour.
You know, it's interesting that you'd say that, because Dean McCurry is one of our sponsors and an auctioneer out of Texas.
Oh, I know Dean.
Okay, he has brought up several times, you know, start some of your auction items earlier in that week so that you have them going forward. It's kind of elevates the conversation. It gets everybody excited so that if something happens and you're not there, or you miss something, you know, right at that point in time during your 55 minutes, you haven't lost it all. And I think that's a really good suggestion, because I love what you're saying about reclaiming that weekend. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, we've talked so much about burnout, you know, and Zoom fatigue and all of that. And so it was early on in the show, I want to say even Corona Chronicles, Julia, that someone had come on and said, you know, Friday is the new Saturday and Thursday is the new Friday. So we're really shifting what would typically happen in person to a weekday to accommodate some more downtime, or just some personal time, or just to be off your technology completely. So I'm really glad to hear you say that is, you know, let's do shift earlier in the week, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of time frame. So I'm glad to know that that's still trending.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think as we're looking at planning, you're right. I mean, Jason, that's a huge issue to back things up.
Yeah.
I mean, huge.
And if we would go as far to be almost European, let's take the whole month of August off.
Can we?
If we want to go there. But I think truly you can be as engaging with your virtual gala during the week as what it was on the weekends. It's just now you've got to really gather those folks to make sure that they're tuning in, because one thing that I'm telling all of our customers at this point is it is back to 101 fundraising. Pick up the phone, call them. It is phone call, email, text message, social media. Phone call, email, text message, social media. Because what I want is when one of our customers calls a donor to say, hey, are you watching the show on Thursday? They're going to answer the phone with, I know the show is Thursday.
I love it. I love it.
That's where you have to go with marketing and outreach at this point.
I love it. Let me ask you about another thing that we've been seeing and hearing a lot about, and that is the combination of live versus taped content. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, and if you could give us some of your opinions, because it seems like this is the big question, you know, that mission moment where we used to tape that and it would, you know, be the big, you know, kiss and cry moment. What are you seeing?
So that is such a great question. And because we're now in the magical world of television, how things are scripted, you would never know if it wasn't live. So from the time that a live MC may be on stage and they say, hey, I'm going to turn it over to our band tonight to do a piece of entertainment, go Steven Tyler. And Steven Tyler goes, hey, Jason, so glad to be here tonight. And that's all scripting. No one will ever know that it wasn't. I think where nonprofits are still thinking, okay, it must be live over taped, is that they're still in the traditional thought processes of a gala and in a ballroom, that this is where we've got to be in front of people. This is where we have the crying children. This is where we have the shivering dogs. This is where we have that moment, like you said, to bring those heartstrings. Well, now that can be condensed and have so much more impact because of it being on a global platform. It doesn't have to be taped or live. It could be either or at this point. But I think a lot of your content can be taped and edited in, because unless you've done some Zoom calls like this or you've been involved in television before, there's always that 1 minute of panic when somebody turns on. They're like, can you hear me? Hello? Am I here? So yeah, exactly. Tapping on the screen. That is where you want to eliminate that, because you want your guests to be as authentic and natural and conversational as they possibly can. So to have that pre-recorded where they can not have that pressure of, okay, we're live, because that is a different skill set to be on live camera and on stage. two different talents.
And I will say the trick, right, is that if you are live and you have pre-recorded something in advance to show during your live streaming, make sure you wear the same outfit, you do your hair the same way, right, so that it looks like it is all live, because that is a tip that has come up.
Continuity director.
Right, the continuity director.
The lapel pin is on the same side. Yes, those are. I'm glad you bring that up, because those are things that we're helping nonprofits create for their virtual galas, is to make sure that, hey, take that piece of artwork, move it up to the right, put a light right here, make sure your collar's straight. This is how we're going to cut and edit this. So those are things, because again, there is a level of sophistication that has to be produced with these virtual galas to keep people on the edge of their seats and wanting to continue to watch.
Yeah. Jason, what are you seeing as Winspire, pardon me, has these amazing packages? Are these live auction? And I think Dean's watching, so no pressure, but I know. But are you seeing these live auctions going at the end of the 50, at the end of the 45 minutes, 50 minutes? Are you seeing it done more earlier throughout that virtual time? Where is that falling in run of show?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think right now, take the playbook and manual and tear it up to pieces, and let's A/B test everything that we're doing. Because, as we've produced a couple of events now, we've incorporated the donation appeal throughout the entire show, where the first couple of minutes was at the $50,000 level. This is what happens for us. And then show a small little PowerPoint, and then go on about some entertainment and some more spoken word type pieces, and then go back into the next donation appeal. And I think the auction can be that same way. It's about spreading out your content and making it engaging from start to finish, not just waiting up to the crescendo of like what we normally do in a gala event of here's the donation appeal and here's the live auction. Like, people know it's coming. Now, we have no rules. Play the game, play it all, try everything, because if you don't start trying it now, you're going to have to play catch up, like we were talking about with Julia earlier. You're going to have to play catch up when this becomes the standard, and it is a standard now.
It is. Yeah, we've been in this too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question that just popped into my head, and this is one thing that I've been noticing. More and more virtual events have some sort of, it's like the old telethon clicker, where it's like, okay, we're at this point, and I'm wondering what your take is on that. Do you think it's a good thing or not such a good thing? Or
so we're never going to get away from the Jerry Lewis telethon. I mean, because that was the original virtual gala.
Right.
We're just, and it's always of people of a different generation are going to always judge against that and say, it was telethon-y, or it was and they're always going to have that motion and memory. So you're going to have to keep it engaging and try to do a little different. I think there's ways that you can incorporate thermometers, tickers that are of a different level of sophistication. And I'd love to use that word, because I do feel like right now you have to have not a frozen Zoom call to make your event work. Like, you've got to have the content and substance to make this a beautiful piece of collateral that the nonprofit can continue to use for years to come. And you want your best representation in that show, because we're creating shows. That's what it is. So I think there's ways that you can do it, and it's subtle and sophisticated to continue to keep the mission forward, and it's not, dialing for dollars.
Right. I love what you just said, and I don't know if we've had anyone else say that, and that is, this is content that moves you forward, that you can be playing in other ways and keep engaging people. It's not a one and done thing that I think so many of us who've done, Beyond the Ballroom, it's when the lights go out, you're done. You mentally are done.
Yeah.
And that's such a bad way to go.
Right. Because you've got to think of this as it's going to be long lasting. It is going, not just the pandemic, because we will as a culture get past that, but as a piece of collateral that's a representation of you, your work you produce, your mission that you produce. You want that to be beautiful, that you can take that and slice and dice it and use it in future ways. Yeah. So we're not thinking short term. We have to think long term at this point with how these are going to be produced and what they're going to look like.
And what we can do to repurpose some of the content. One of our guests on, they have live slash, taped breakfast event that sits in perpetuity on their website. So in the blog section. So if you missed it that morning, it's still accessible and you can still log in. The donate buttons still work, right? So it's still very much an active campaign. And for me as a business owner, I'm constantly thinking, how do we work smarter, not harder? What are some of these ways that we can repurpose the content? And you're right, Jason, like we are creating magnificent shows in which many of those contents and the elements of the show can absolutely be repurposed in so many different ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And indeed it should. Well, it's hard to believe, but our time is almost up. And I told you this, Jason, I'm like, you're not going to believe how fast this goes.
Oh, it does.
I mean, it really does. So this is kind of the final big question. And it's asking you to take a lifetime of work and experience and kind of talk to us about how these virtual donors are now differently. I mean, how they're behaving differently and how we can kind of tap into that or maybe understand it. Because the things that we were doing that were starting not to be so effective, right? I mean, we were kind of already getting to the max point of our donor experience. What is that looking like for you? And what do you see moving forward?
It's a big question. Yeah, it is. It is a big question. It's a loaded question. And it's my personal opinion, but it is going back to basics. Mm-hmm. And being able to engage people on a personal level. It's not a cut and paste type of situation anymore. It is, you have to reach out to your people that have donated to you. You have to engage them in different ways because there's not necessarily volunteer opportunities anymore right now. So, I love everybody being able to have accessibility to the organization and creating these one-offs, unique little type experiences that can be tuned in and watch. I think that is where you're going to engage people the most because it truly is back to basics 101. And, one thing that I like to tie into this is we've used the word sponsorship until it's dead. So let's change that and let's call it partnerships. Because you need to partner with people now and see what they want to do to bring to your organization, not just, hey, here's a $5,000 sponsor and we're listing you in a printed program and a PowerPoint. Let's listen to them and let's hear what they say. They may say, I could do $4,335 because that is what I know covers. Like, we've just got to stop thinking in our traditional form of fundraising and go back to what we started with, of picking up the phone and calling them.
Amen, brother. I love it. Yes.
I love it. And I think that is a definite show topic that we need to address. Solomon just wrote in, we have to debunk traditional special events. Also, a one-size-fits-all approach in this day when donors reflect greater diversity by age, gender, race, etc. It will not work. Love it. It's exactly what you've been saying, Jason. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's a new day.
Hashtag beyond the ballroom.
That's speaking. I like it.
I'll send you guys the invoice later.
You do that. I'll make sure you have Julia's address.
Please. Hey, you're the one that just bought a new car. So look,
which is why I cannot do that. Right, exactly.
That's right. We're not sending her any invoices. Well, this has really been exciting. I think that Jason, in the trajectory of you could have never envisioned this. And so I want to end with were you able to quickly relaunch and reimagine, or did it take you a while in your organization, or how quickly were you thinking, wow, this isn't like me. I was like, 2 weeks. And then
Well, I mean, the good thing about it is I have autonomy within what I do at Winspire. So I was able to tap into prior connections through my television background and nonprofit history to create these experiences. And we hit the market the first with it all. And it has been quite interesting now to see where we've come far as an industry itself, I think we're still a little hair on fire trying to get to where we need to go. But I think if everybody will just take one deep breath, embrace technology, you're going to be able to move forward much faster and smoother. And we're here to help you guys.